Hey there everybody, how's it going? Bash here, coming at you with a new video, and today's video is going to be about my most disappointing games in 2023. I usually don't like going about, ragging on games too hard, only certain select few that come to mind that I really just want to talk about, and sure, I'll go into detail why I'm so, upset with it or whatever. But this list, it's a little bit more casual. I'm just going to be talking freely about certain releases that came out in 2023 that just really didn't hit well with me, didn't sit well, and I want to make it very clear that these games that I'm going to be talking about, they not necessarily are super bad or terrible, you should never play them, the worst games of 2023. They're just, for me personally, the most disappointing games of the year. It's something that where I want to touch on each individual game and talk about why I'm disappointed and how it could have done better. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some games on here that might be considered pretty bad too. But I try my best to put games on a list that I've specifically interacted with, I've played. There are other games out there that are obviously really bad, like the Lord of the Rings Gollum game, for example. That one's a really bad game of 2023, but I didn't play it. I didn't even have any I didn't have any expectations for it. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm trying to express here, is that of course there's games out there that are worse, that are terrible, that games on Steam that cost like $5 and no one's ever heard of it, and of course it's terrible. But I'm gonna try to avoid that. I want to talk about games that I actually wanted to get, play, buy, and yeah, just as we go through the games, you'll understand more of what I mean about most disappointing games. But let's go ahead and jump into our first one. So for the first game that I want to talk about, it is Batman Trilogy, the Batman Arkham Trilogy on the Switch. Now, of course, these are games that have come out in the past on other consoles, and this is a game that, or a franchise, from a studio that I really respect and I really love. The Arkham games are games that I have played over and over again. On my PlayStation account, I have platinum trophied them. On my Steam account, I've got the games, and I've got like the highest score of my friends list because I've played them to death and I've done all the extra stuff. So I love the Batman Arkham series, the entirety of it. And so when it was coming to the Switch, I was like, oh my god, I get to play them again, and I get to have it in handheld mode, and I get to go lay down and just chill with and do some Riddler trophies. But unfortunately, with this release, it was already out the gate not very enticing, because we got information that the cartridge itself wouldn't carry all the games, and that's just really upsetting to me, because these are games that came out years and years ago. This was on the PS3, so it's like, for me, it's hard to fathom why is it not like, if we have games like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and Tears of the Kingdom, we've got these like gigantic masterpiece games, why is it that we don't have the capabilities of putting these older games that are much substantially smaller on a cartridge? It doesn't make sense to me, and so that was already one red flag for me. I was just not very happy about that, and either way, I was like, okay, fine, if it's just Arkham Knight that's not on the cartridge, sure. We got Asylum and we've got City. Those are two great games that I would love to just have on the go, pop it in, play whenever I want. And unfortunately, yeah, just Arkham Asylum didn't do so well on the Switch. I don't know what happened with the transfer from Rocksteady working on other consoles heading over to the Switch, but if you go look at Digital Foundry, is probably my number one, pick when it comes to checking to see how games run on consoles ahead of time. Before you make a purchase, I always recommend you go, put in some research on the game that you're excited about and see if it's worth your money, is it worth your time. And Digital Foundry is a really good YouTube channel that showcase and highlights all these technical aspects of these games early on. And so the video that they put out for the Arkham Trilogy was just not great. It was struggling a lot in the frame rate department. Arkham Knight is completely unplayable, and it's just very upsetting to hear. So that was one of my most disappointing releases this year. It's a little tricky because it is a re-release. It's an older franchise, so it's not like a brand new game. But I'm sure for some players out there, it could have been their first try at the Arkham universe, and that's such a upsetting way of experiencing those games firsthand. Next up, we've got on the Switch, we've got Fashion Dreamer. Now, obviously, this isn't the most standout hit of any Switch catalog, but it is a niche little series that I've enjoyed, and honestly, the main reason why I got this game was it was a gift for my girlfriend, and she also showed so much disappointment and so much regret with getting that at full price. I mean, I'm the one that got it, but she said, "Oh, I'm sorry." But yeah, the game just lacked a lot of things that you would want from this style savvy type game. If you guys are not familiar, Style Savvy is this franchise that originated on the DS, and it is a really fun, cozy just experience of playing through this world where you're just creating outfits and creating these scenarios for people who want certain outfits. And with Fashion Dreamer, there was a lot of excitement building up towards its release. At least for me and my girlfriend, we were looking and I was like, man, that looks really interesting. I like the new art style or the art direction they gave it. And yeah, the release just was not up to par with the price point. There was so many lacking features and so much well, what's the best word for it? So much tedious, like, repetitiveness in the game itself. There was just so much having to go and talk to the NPC and fulfill the request and then move over and do the same thing and move over and do the same thing. There wasn't really any sort of innovation, and there's so much you could do with this kind of concept of being a fashion designer and going through all these different NPCs through the game. And there was a lack of story mode. There was a lack of just components that you would want to utilize to have outfits and stuff for yourself. All the menus could have been worked on a lot more, and certain elements of unlocking pieces was just really weird. Having to save items for it to be in your inventory, I don't know, it just felt like the game wanted to do something, but then they just decided, hey, let's just put out this mediocre product, because it really was disappointing. And it was so frustrating because even there was an update coming out for like a fashion like walkway sort of thing, and that update ended up getting pushed out and then delayed instantly because there was too many issues, and this whole thing was just horribly mishandled, and it was really upsetting. So yeah, Fashion Dreamer, I would say avoid it, and I really can't recommend it unless it's like $10 and then you want to check it out. But yeah, I really expected more, and I hope they try again, but really, put more time into it. Marvelous, they've put out some great games, and they're capable of more. I just don't know what happened with Fashion Dreamer. Next up on my list is a game that this one I wasn't really excited about when they had first showed it off, and especially in all of the Capcom spotlights. I forgot what they call it, but the directs for Capcom specifically, they kept showing this game, and I just really wasn't really excited to play it. But towards the end, as they continued to show more and they announced like an open beta and stuff, I was like, okay, you know what, I'll give it a shot, especially because it was on Game Pass, and I have Game Pass on PC. So ExoPrimal, this game had a lot of promise. I played the open beta, and I actually did a whole stream of it. I did a whole showcase talking about all the different robot characters that you could use, all the different units of different classes that you could play as, and there was a lot of potential. I was actually leaving the open beta being like, wow, this is really cool, especially the multiplayer online versus aspect where you and your squad were racing against an enemy team doing the same thing. It was really cool. And so my expectations continue to rise and rise more, but the launch of the game, unfortunately, yeah, it just was lacking so much. I'm so glad it was on Game Pass because I was able to just download it and play it and try it, but the lack of game modes and the direction of the story mode and how they presented these characters in the story mode just really didn't hit for me. I found it very low budget at times, but I was still completely blown away at how stable the game was with how much was going on. You'd have like millions of dinosaurs running from every corner of the world, and I wouldn't have any frame rate loss or any sort of like struggles, technical issues. That was a big marvel for me. I was like, wow, this is really, really well done. They kind of nailed this. But everything else, when it came to the customization, when it came to the presentation of the story and the online game modes and the way you go about these online game modes and how to queue up and be with friends and stuff, it was just so they did not handle it very well. And that one, it was disappointing for me in a weird way, because like I said, at first I wasn't on board. I was like, hey, ExoPrimal, okay, that's for somebody, it's not me. Other people might enjoy this kind of gameplay. But then after trying the beta, I did really have high expectations, and unfortunately I was very, very sorely disappointed with ExoPrimal. Now the next game on my list, it is it's interesting because there's still people out there that might not consider mobile games something of value or something that people should pursue or be excited about. I understand completely. I never try to like convince people mobile games are great. I play everything. So if you guys don't know that, I literally play visual novels, I play farming sims, I play mobile games, I play anything I can get my own point and click adventures. I just love it all. I want to experience them all. There's nothing really off the table. But yeah, when it comes to Pokemon Sleep, the thing that's funny about how this is the most disappointing to me is because they announced it so far back. I think it was at a Pokemon Day Direct when they had first talked about Pokemon Sleep. But at first I was like, okay, Pokemon Sleep, it's interesting. What's it going to be like? Is it going to be, a tracking software? Is it going to be like an actual thing that gives us more insight on sleeping Pokemon and all that? And yeah, even at its release, I went out and bought the Pokemon Go Plus, which is supposed to be part of Pokemon Sleep, and this was in the initial trailer too. The device, the Pokeball device that you receive is in the trailer. It's supposed to be very, very useful for your Pokemon Sleep, tracking your habits and tracking how it intertwines with your sleep patterns and all of that. And yeah, I was just disappointed by this, man. I got the app day one. It pre-installed because I had it pre-ordered on the market, on my mobile market, and obviously it's a free-to-play game, and that wasn't an issue for me. Obviously, I just downloaded the game, no big deal. But it was just the excitement of, oh, Pokemon Sleep finally got announced, and they're showing it off, and there's this thing that tracks your sleep, and you can have a Pikachu wake you up, and it was just so bizarre. I love when gaming companies, Nintendo is the one that does it a lot, but I love when people get wacky with their stuff, like the Nintendo Wii. I love the motion control stuff and the menu, and there's so many different things that companies can go for to be innovative and be different. And so Pokemon was doing this thing about sleeping, and there is another app that Pokemon has put out called Pokemon Smile, and that's supposed to be like a brushing your teeth helper app thing. And I was expecting something like that, but maybe a little bit more cutting edge, because it was so they announced it so far back and there was so much build up for it. So when Pokemon Sleep came out, it just felt like the connectivity for the device just wasn't the best. I felt like I kept getting the same readings whenever I would sleep, and it would just say, oh, here's how many hours you slept, but it just wouldn't be accurate at times. And the way they would want you to go about it is like, oh, put it under your pillow or like by you when you sleep. But I mean, I've got my girlfriend, and I've got my dog, and I've got all this stuff on like all these pillows and stuff on my bed, and it's just not the most efficient. There was many mornings I just found it on the floor and it wouldn't matter. And yeah, besides that, the app itself and the way they were trying to start throwing in these microtransactions, it just didn't feel right. It was like like I mentioned, the teeth brush app. Whenever I tried that when it first came out, obviously it's catered to kids, and I didn't really stick with it. It was just funny for the first like 2 days. But that one, it was just like, here's a timer, you can try to brush your teeth, and it was just a fun little Pokemon thing that you have in a lifestyle thing. I know a Pokemon company, they seem to try to advocate for a lot of like healthy lifestyle stuff with Pokemon Go and tracking your steps and all that. Um, but yeah, I just found the Pokemon Sleep overall presentation and what they put out after all that build up to be very, very lacking, very disappointing. And then also attacking on those microtransactions for like more room for the Pokemon you find, and the different type of like cookies you can, or like the food that you can give Snorlax. I don't know, it was icky. I didn't like it. And what a bummer, man, because the device, I use it more for Pokemon Go than I do for Pokemon Sleep. I installed Pokemon Sleep. I just use this now when I walk around to catch Pokemon at Pokemon Go. So if you want to get this, just get it for Pokemon Go. I mean, it's got that on the box itself. So there you go. All right. So next up, the next game I want to talk about is Diablo 4. Diablo 4 launched this year with, there was a lot of build up for Diablo 4. It's the next big main line entry in this legendary franchise. Diablo is a game that was like my initial PC gaming game, and I want to say when Diablo 3 launched, that was the first time I ever built my own custom PC. So Diablo is a franchise that I have been with for a while. I've played every iteration. I played the DLC for Diablo 3. I played Diablo 2, and I got the remaster. And so it's like Diablo 4 gets announced, and I'm excited for it, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do with it. But then it ends up becoming this game that it's just tricky to put into words my disappointment. There was a lot of things about Diablo 4 that just didn't hit well. And on top of that, I am not the most typical online, Diablo 4 enthusiast or Diablo enthusiast. There's a lot of people who love playing through the seasons, who love playing through they love playing through the different resets of the Diablo 4 online aspect of the going through the steps of the different seasons and getting better gear and all this other stuff. And so for Diablo 4 and all the other ones before that, I have more fun just playing the single player, going through it and enjoying making a character, getting through the boss fights, getting through the different acts with whatever gear I find, and playing the initial closed beta by buying a KFC sandwich. Yes, I was able to do it, and thankfully I was able to luck out, and I bought like one of the cheaper sandwiches that were like $1.25, and it still gave me access, so that was great. But yeah, playing through the closed beta, I streamed that, and it just didn't, I don't know, it felt like there was something off with Diablo 4 where it didn't hit for me as well as 3 did, and even then the launch for 3 wasn't that great either. But it was just lacking that element of excitement. A lot of the caves themselves were very repetitive. There was a lot of elements in the level design and the way you would go about the world that didn't do too well. And I mean, even now, if you go look at the reviews and you go look at all the player feedback, it just doesn't seem like a very promising thing to go to. So I was pushed off of it just by the closed beta, and then on top of that, the price point, the entryway for Diablo 4 just seems like really, really, expensive for what I was trying to get out of it. So I told myself initially, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna wait for the launch to go by, and then I'll buy it after, because usually the launches are pretty bad. And I'm glad I did, because I ended up watching other people play it. I watched videos about it, and it just became as lackluster as I felt like it was in the closed beta, but just even further elements also giving that feeling of just disappointment. So Diablo 4, unfortunately, yeah, it didn't hit for me, and apparently a lot of other people. I think it's one of the most negatively reviewed games on Steam right now, which is wow. But Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a game. I want to play through it eventually. I want to get through the story mode, and maybe I'll try to get some friends to play through with me with the multiplayer aspect. But I'm just gonna wait for it to go on sale for like $20 with the extra DLC and stuff. Like many other Blizzard properties, that it happens pretty frequently. Like Dragonflight went on 50% off after like 2 months, and I bought that one right away too. So it's stuff like that where I'm starting to just be more hesitant, especially when I feel like something's off. Next up on my list, I have, unfortunately, Sonic Superstars. I played through this game. I am still working on the Platinum Trophy because I do have a bit of a self-given goal of trying to beat all of the Sonic games and getting all the Platinum trophies for them. I want 100% as many as I can. So Sonic Superstars, I got this on launch. I was able to play it multiplayer with my brother and my friend. And yeah, I don't want to go as far to say the game's not terrible. I think you can find some enjoyment in it. It's a Sonic game. The music is really, really fun, and the visual style is very vibrant and colorful, and I really, really like what they did with portraying a more classic Sonic-styled game, but in 3D and all that. It's still 2D side-scroller, but it's got 3D elements. You know what I mean? But yeah, the multiplayer, it really did feel like they looked over at what Mario was doing, and they're like, oh, Mario's got multiplayer going on? Okay, well, Sonic should do that too. We've got Sonic and friends, we've got Knuckles and Amy and Tails. Let's throw them in the mix and we can have some multiplayer fun. But it just doesn't work. Sonic is not a game that you want to play multiplayer with. At least I don't think so. That's my vote, because I played through this with friends and it was constantly I'm dying, or they're falling off the screen because one person is going way too fast. They're progressing through the level and they're doing all this stuff. And I mean, I think I'd be very interested to see a 4-player co-op speed run of this game. I think that'd be really, really fun to witness, because you could have these people who've memorized the layout and the level design, and then now they're all moving in unison and they're getting all the boss fights done quickly. I think that'd be pretty fun. But obviously, for the more casual audience, and especially for kids playing this game, it just I could even see it being frustrating for kids. Like, I would see kids playing together, and then the little brother's crying, the little sister's crying because, oh, I keep dying and keep falling off the stage. And it's different from Mario. Mario's you're moving, and there are pitfalls, there are places where you can fall. Mario Wonder came out this year, and that was a multiplayer experience that at least was better than this. And it's just not as high speed, so you have those moments where you have reprieve in Mario Wonder, where you can play with other people and enjoy it and work together at times. Whereas Sonic Superstars, it just feels like a Sonic game that's meant for a person to play through it and rush through it and go through all these obstacles, and then they tacked on the multiplayer. The one praise I can give it is the bonus stages, the checkpoint medal bonus stages. Those were so much fun because we were always trying to see who would get the medal first. Me and my brother and my friend, we were all so competitive and laughing. It was really, really fun, but it was like one of those moments where you're watching a bad movie and it's so bad it's good kind of deal. So we were trying to make the most out of a bad situation by making it fun during the checkpoint mini games. That was the highlight, trying to see who would get the most medals, and whoever didn't get one was, the weakest link. But yeah, even then the medals, they just didn't really have that much of excitement when it came to the rewards for them. You would buy these component pieces for your custom avatar in the multiplayer battles or the multiplayer mode. That's not the story mode, and I don't know. I just feel like I'm glad they tried it. I guess, props to that for trying something different with the Sonic franchise and introducing more friend stuff, but they just need to really think of a way to make it their own rather than try to make it something that we've already seen before. Okay, so unfortunately, it pains me so much to say this next disappointing game of 2023 You guys, if you're familiar with my content and my channel, and if you've hung out with me at all, you know how much of a fan I am of the Tales of series, and you know Tales of Symphonia is one of my favorite games of all time, one of my, if not my favorite JRPG of all time. But yeah, the Tales of Symphonia remaster was so, oh, it's so upsetting, man. I don't want to talk about it. I really don't want to talk about it because it's just like I'm sitting there and they announced it in the Switch. It was a Nintendo Direct and they announced the Symphonia remaster coming to Switch and I lost it. I was like, oh my god, yes, like the Symphonia is back in a modern console. Well, I guess the Switch, if you want to call it that. But I mean, obviously it's on other consoles, on Xbox, on PlayStation. And my excitement, I was like, oh my god, it's gonna get remastered and we're gonna have, you know, maybe better voice quality. We're gonna have skits, they might get voiced, and we might get a fast forward button or something for the longer segments of the game, and they could add all this extra stuff. We can get a new port, we can get 60 FPS back because people have been dying for it since the GameCube version is the only one that has 60 FPS. And of course it's Bandai Namco, so none of that happened. Like none of that. I remember there was an article that said, oh, we're gonna add the feature to skip cutscenes or whatever, skip story skits or cutscenes or what have you. And I was like, oh my god, that's gonna cut so much time for replays, especially if I want to go for the platinum trophy. I don't have to worry about going through all the dialogue over and over, talking to Magnus, talking to all these people. But then they meant the animated cutscenes, and there's only a couple. There's like maybe 8 of them in the whole like 40, 50, 60 hours this game offers, 80 hours. There's like 8 of them, and they're like the best part. You want to watch that cutscene. You want to see the tower come up. You want to see Lloyd, you know, doing stuff in this awesome art style because it's from like the anime. So it's like, wow, that's the part that you added cutscene skip to, not the dialogue that you have to sit through whenever you die to a boss or something. Oh man, I can go on about my disappointment for this game. And it's just, there was so many things wrong with the release. Like they released the game on, I have the PS4 version, and the thing is, I got the Switch version as well, and I actually returned it. I bought it, and the same day I went back and said, hey, I just bought this, and it's terrible. It's terrible. I want to return it. And they said, all right, you know, like we've gotten the GameStop I went to, they actually got complaints from people about how bad the loading times are terrible. The Colette's wings at certain moments would lag the game. The transitions whenever you would fight in a battle, previously on every other version of the Symphonia, there was a glass shatter effect that would lead into the combat. That was gone. Now you just get flashbanged. And then if you didn't want to get flashbanged, the skits in the original game, whenever you would play a skit, it would have wherever you were in the world kind of faded in the background, and the skit would be in the foreground. This, in the Switch version, it was just a black void. It was just floating portraits in a black void, and it looked terrible. I don't know what they were thinking, and thankfully, now in 2024 we're at a point where Bandai actually patched the Switch version to have all those features. And man, I can't believe the piss poor state my favorite game, one of my favorite games of all time, came out in. I don't know what were they thinking, especially with Symphonia. It is the Final Fantasy VII of the Tales of series. It's such a wonderful game. I wish I could say go play it, and I mean, now I can say, if you want the remaster, go get it. It's in a better state now. It's not perfect. There's certain things that they could have done better, like the world camera. I wish they worked on the world camera. They fixed the boat camera and the boat control, but Bandai, I don't know what is up with Bandai. They have so many great games and so many things that they can put out, like the Dark Souls games and all the anime games, and they have all this budget, I would think, because they have a monopoly on anime games. But the Tales of series, why would they treat their darling baby Symphonia like that? That's just so terrible. That one of the most disappointing games for me this year. Next up, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about Starfield. Starfield is a game that I will admit, I haven't beat the game. I haven't gone through the game very much. I've only played about like 10 hours, 12 hours, but I can feel what the internet and what the world feels when I'm playing Starfield. I understand how just soulless this game feels. It feels like it's just barren, and it does things that really well, but a lot of the things just come off as just no meat to the bones, if that makes sense. Obviously the game is really poorly received. I don't know how so many people, different online journalists, all gave it like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, and this game just delivers so, like, it's just a weak effort. Like, I don't, it's so bad for me to say. I don't want to, complain and put down these developers that I've sure worked really hard, because I firmly believe that if you're a game developer, you're not out there trying to make a bad game. You want to do something good. You want to make something great. And so I don't want to sit there and be like, man, they just didn't care. But it's just like the game, even the PC launch. I was so excited because I have an ultra wide monitor. I've got one of those like Samsung 49-inch, like, what a big ass monitors. I got a super ultra wide monitor, so I was like, oh my god, day one, Game Pass, Starfield, I'm gonna just turn off everything. I'm not even gonna stream it. I'm just gonna sit there and I'm gonna play, because I love space. I love the idea of traveling into the unknown and seeing all these planets and everything. And there was a lot of elements that Starfield did great. I think the atmosphere in certain planets is great. I think the shipbuilding components and being able to build a ship is really well done. But that's the problem, is that if that's your high point and not the exploration and the weapons and your interaction with all these worlds, if that's the low point, then what are you doing? Something's wrong here. But yeah, the PC version, it lacked ultra wide support when Disney's Speedstorm, a free-to-play racing game, has ultra-wide support. It's things like that where I'm like, what's going on? There was no field of view slider. There was no DLSS support. There was so much lacking that didn't make any sense. And yeah, I just feel like Starfield came out in a time frame that just felt like no one cared. I couldn't find any sort of excitement from my peers or people that I interact with online on Discord or on Twitter or Blue Sky, anything. I couldn't really see any sort of excitement because everyone was just too busy not being excited for it. So yeah, Starfield, just a really disappointing release this year. And with Bethesda, how much kind of support they were getting from Xbox being bought out by Microsoft, and after the unfortunate release of Redfall, we were hoping that, as a fan of Xbox, I was like, you know what, I'm hoping Starfield comes in and brings it home for Xbox with a big hit, a big winner. And unfortunately for me and many others, from what I've seen, it just did not hit the mark. Okay, so this next game is a game that I was very disappointed by, and it is another one that it hurts me to say, because I am a defender of the first game in this small little version of this character. It is Super Bomberman R2. I understand why people are not super excited for Bomberman these days. There's not much going on. Konami is in a state where their games are, they throw them out when they can, and Castlevania has been doing some good strides with its anime and such, and we've got Metal Gear getting a remake soon. But I just think overall, Super Bomberman R, the original, that game, I played it a pretty good amount. I bought it. It was my launch game on the Switch next to Breath of the Wild. I also bought Super Bomberman R because I love Bomberman. I've been playing those games for years. Bomberman Generations is one of my favorites on the GameCube. I love the music and the character design, the different elements that the bomb battles, bring to gameplay and gaming in general. And so Super Bomberman R, the original, I enjoyed it. I understood that it was a throwback. It was a more classic style Bomberman, like Bomberman, Sega Saturn, all those like older Super Nintendo Bomberman games where it's a top-down grid-like progression through story acts. It's like 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, and then after that chapter, you move on. And I love the art style and the presentation of the art style in Bomberman in these games, in this one as well. I think that the poppy, vibrant art of this world of Bomberman is really well done. I think it looks good. You bring a lot of character to the Bomberman family. But Bomberman R2, I was so excited for it because they were gonna add this new fortress mode, and I was like, oh man, it's gonna be so cool to like have a fortress and build one and put it out for people to battle against you. But it was just so limited in certain ways, and there was exploits. It wasn't really balanced very well, and the AI is terrible. There was certain streams I was doing for this game where I made a fortress in the story mode, and I legit just put the controller down and walked out of the room, and then I won. I beat the mission. And I hate when games do that, because you want to be engaged and you want to be fulfilled in what you're doing, and I just don't really enjoy the fact that there's no challenge with this fortress mode because the AI is so bad. Moving past that, the story and the way they presented the story mode was really interesting, because I was like, wait, are we gonna get a more adventure styled Bomberman game instead of the classic one that we got with Bomberman R, the original one? Because this one you could actually walk, and it wasn't a grid, it was like an open area, and you could fight enemies in the open area. But again, it just was very, very weak, and it just lacked innovation, man. Like it was so simple going through each world as Bomberman, and there wasn't many. There was like maybe 4 worlds, and you would reset your progress all over again, where you would have the smallest fire, the smallest amount of bombs, the slowest speed. And when you got to a new world, you're like, oh, I gotta go back to this like weak version of myself. And the alons that you have to save in each planet, they were cool, and they reminded me of Chow in a way from the Sonic series. And I was like, oh cool, we get these like characters, and maybe we have combinations where Elon power up Bomberman, and you can get different types of bombs, different elements and stuff like that. And it wasn't there. It was just so simple. And the Elon were you had to find them and collect them in each world, and then they were used to open gates to certain sections. And I couldn't believe that I felt like I was the only one excited for this, and I guess I was proven why I was the only one excited, because Konami just doesn't know what to do with Bomberman, man. They tried this Super Bomberman R online thing where they wanted to put a battle pass and different costumes, and there was different seasons and ranked mode, and they had it out for like 2 years or maybe like a year and a half, and then they canceled it. And I actually got all the trophies in that online mode, because like I said, I'm a big Bomberman fan. I want this series to succeed. I love Bomberman, but they just need to be more innovative and more ambitious. I wish we could get a new 3D Bomberman game where you could go out, and the story mode is more integrated with characters and cutscenes that are in real time, not just like a pre-rendered cutscene, or not just like a 2D skit where they're talking to each other. I also think that the Bomberman are like family, with the blue bomber and the green bomber. It's just too, I don't know. It doesn't work for me. I think it could be more popular with kids, and I think that the idea of each Bomberman having their own personality type is fine, but I never really liked that. I think that I prefer Bomberman to have their own personality, but they can be happy or sad or excited or sleepy or angry, all at once, rather than just being only one. And yeah, I just think that Bomberman R2, it was so disappointing. And I was even so excited to the point where I was like, I'm gonna do a launch stream of this game with my brother, and I set him up here next to me. And I was like, we're gonna play all night, we're gonna do co-op, we're gonna get through the game, because the original Bomberman R, the game on the Switch, that one had co-op. So for me, I was like, okay, that one had co-op, This is a new game with more open-ended stuff, and you have all these Bombermen, all these different colored Bomberman families, if you can see there. You have all of them. So of course co-op would be part of it, right? No, there's no co-op. So I had this whole launch stream. I download the game, and then I'm like, how do you unlock co-op? Let me look it up. And then sure enough, yeah, we can't do co-op. So he just sat there and he played one world, I did, and then we were like falling asleep during the gameplay, man. Ugh, I'm so angry. But yeah, Bomberman R, Super Bomberman R2. The only praise I can give it is the music at times was okay. And the ending, the last section, like the final boss fight, that was something that they could do. Like the traversal to the boss fight and avoiding the bombs coming from above and fighting these enemies while you're progressing to the boss itself. That was really cool. And if they did more of that, that would be cool. That was a really fun part of the game, and you can see my excitement in my stream of it. I have some of my VODs on my Twitch and also here on YouTube, so if you guys ever want to see me play the ending, just skip to the ending and watch that part, and that part was okay. But yeah, Super Bomberman R2, avoid it. It's already on sale. I bought it at full price, and I feel stupid for it. But I am a Bomberman fan, man. It's really hard for me not to want to play the new entry right away. So I don't know if I'm going to learn my lesson, but at least I am self-aware. Alright, we're on to the last game of the list, but there are some dishonorable mentions I wanted to bring up. I'm not going to go into details with these games because they are games that I wanted to put in here because I had some excitement for it, or I had some, you know, intrigue, but then I just ended up not getting them. I didn't buy these games, or I didn't play them as much as I thought I did, or I would have this year. So my opinion isn't as heartfelt, and I'm not as disappointed because I didn't really care. But the three that I wanted to mention was, of course, Forspoken. It's the same team that worked on Final Fantasy 15, and I love Final Fantasy 15, so Forspoken, I thought the overworld traversal looked amazing, and I did play the demo, but man, that writing, that Marvel, like, teenage, just writing that everyone heard for all the month that it came out, it was just not good, and it completely, when you know it's bad when the setting in the game says, like, for them to talk less. Like, you have a setting in the game that says make them talk less, and so I put that on, and still it was still frustrating. So I just a completely unlikable cast, and I've heard from some people that it was still enjoyable if you look beyond that, and I really did enjoy the you know, intricacies of the controls. There was a lot to do, a lot of different elements you could switch to. So maybe one day, I don't know, I'll make it like a Twitch goal to torture myself if enough people donate channel points, or they subscribe or something. I don't know. But yeah, Forspoken, that one's on there. Payday 3 was a game that I played a lot of. Payday 2, I really enjoyed it. I know that Payday 3 came out in a really, really tough state, and there was a lot of issues with the matchmaking. There was a lot of issues of, like, what game or what map you could play as. Payday 3 came out in a really, really bad state. And again, it's on my dishonorable mention because I didn't play it. I didn't play it at launch, and I didn't play it enough to know exactly what was wrong with it. But I know enough from friends who were telling me to play it, and then they said, nah, never mind, don't do it. And then just people online that I follow, videos that I've seen of people not enjoying it and giving their reasons. So that's here. And then the last one, this one is I was a companion to the experience, but my brother played through Yakuza Like a Dragon Ishin. And that game, from what I witnessed on his stream, and when I was sitting next to him watching him play, and from the very little that I played, that game just, you know, it didn't live up to what I thought the Yakuza games were capable of in that era of that universe. They were in, like, feudal Japan, and it was like a throwback version of Yakuza, but the combat just did not feel very, very fun when I played it, and then also watching my brother play through it in frustration. There was a lot of downtime. There were things about that game that just didn't really hit the landing, and I'm sure some people enjoyed it, and it's a, you know, a beat-em-up style Yakuza game again, so there can be some value in the fun quirkiness of it all. But compared to other entries, I think that one just, didn't really feel great. So those were some dishonorable mentions of mine. I wanted to throw in there really quickly. Let me know what you think about any of those. I'm not like the most strong opinion on those, so if you liked Forspoken or if you liked any of them, let me know. Because I could be convinced, maybe. All right, and so for the final game that I want to talk about for my most disappointed game of the year, I saved this one for last because this one it's probably a little bit more niche. Maybe a lot of people don't know about it, or maybe you do. But this is a game that I played the original. I played a bunch with my friends, me, my brother, my cousin, a friend of mine, anybody that I could get around. It had up to 3 players in the original, and it is For the King. It's on Steam, and think about playing through a D&D styled game, but it's turn-based, and each character in your turn-based party is your friend. So it could be me as a hunter, and then it could be my brother as a paladin, and then it could be my cousin as a bard or like a magician or something like that. Or a mage, not magician, sorry. And so, it's a really cool concept. They had a lot of like flair and character to it. And so they announced For the King 2 was coming to Steam a while back, like maybe a year or 2 ago. And I kept my eye on it. I was like, oh my God, For the King 2, heck yeah, more adventures, more experiences, a little bit extra features. And the cool thing was they were actually adding a 4th spot to the party. So now that problem that I was having where I had more than 3 people and we couldn't invite everybody, now I could have one more person join the party, and it was going to be even more fun. And so the launch day came around, and I got me, my cousin, my friend, and my brother. We all bought the game. I said, hey guys, let's buy the game. It's out. Let's play it tonight. And so we all bought it, loaded it up. And within 2 hours, we returned it. We refunded it on Steam because it was just so disappointing, man. For lack of a better word, it was just the soul of the game was missing. It just felt like all the charm and the quirkiness and the fun aspect of this like indie studio making this game, it felt like it was gone. They kind of minimized the UI to make it look a little bit more, just boring. They made the terrain not as easy or not as intriguing to traverse through, because it's kind of like a hexagonal board where you have a certain amount of movement and you can go through it, and then there was like a lot more terrain that was in the way, and it just wasn't as intuitive. The controls and the menuing for the gameplay was also a little bit more confusing for no reason, and they changed the aspect from, instead of it being behind us, the camera, it was on the side of us, and we had this like grid that we were playing. It's like they changed everything we loved about the original in ways that I just didn't agree with, and no one did. We were really trying to force it throughout the stream, and we were definitely on a little bit of copium for a moment there, trying to say like, well, there's this, and now we have 4 people, maybe we can do more. And they got rid of there were so many elements they got rid of that I can't go through them all. If you haven't played it, then it would be harder to explain it all. But For the King 2, it just came out, and it's one of the few games I remember in my memory, in my entirety of my memory, beyond Symphonia on the Switch, that I've returned. I usually try to at least power through my releases, but that one, it just soured me and my friends completely. We literally during the stream said, you know what, I'm not into it, guys. How about you? And all of us agreed, yeah, this ain't it. We all returned it, and then we loaded up For the King 1. And we decided to play that instead, and one of us went to bed or something. But yeah, For the King 2, I know it wasn't reviewing very well when it first came out. Maybe down the line, if it goes on sale or if things change, I'll keep an eye on it, because I do think the aspect alone of just having 4 people in the party is enough for me to be excited for it again. If they change things up or if they have enough feedback. But yeah, it definitely is a weird one to throw in the list, because I'm sure not many people have heard of it. But if you haven't played For the King, the first one, I would definitely recommend it. I say give it a shot. It's not hardware intensive. It's pretty easy to pick up and play with friends. It's a very challenging game, and it can be a lot of fun, especially with the random, the roll of the dice aspect of the game has. But yeah, all right, everybody, that's pretty much it. Like I said, I want to keep it very casual this time around with this video of my most disappointing games this year. I do have my most anticipated of 2024 that I'm going to be working on soon. So look forward to that. But 2024, please just, you know, we had a great year of 2023 with their releases, but obviously there were a lot of standout, really, really bad ones. And I'm just hoping 2024 we can continue to have releases that we're looking forward to, that come out and do well, and we get what we want. We hit those highs that we're expecting and whatever. But even though I have this list and there's these games on this list that are really disappointing to me, I had my time with them or with some of them, and I will continue to do my part in going through these experiences and then relaying them to you. Hopefully this video helps somebody with deciding, oh, what game should I avoid or anything like that. But if you made it this part of the video, I really, really appreciate you. Leave a comment and like if you haven't. Follow the channel if you want to. And yeah, leave me a comment letting me know if any of these games were also on your list, or if any of these games you really love and you think I'm wrong. Because I actually, I could, like I said, I could be convinced. If you guys think that there's something I maybe overlooked or, didn't exactly tackle correctly, let me know. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for watching. Take care, stay safe, stay beautiful, stay smart, love and peace, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.